Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Nicole if you don't know me, and today's video, if you can't tell by the title, is how I lost all of the baby weight and more. So let's get into the video. Okay, so before I tell y'all everything, just a couple things. So one, it's really windy outside, and two, I live on an airbase, so there's gonna be a lot of jets flying by. If you hear anything in the background, I'm sorry. So, disclaimer, I am not a doctor, obviously, and anything that I tell you worked for me. If it doesn't work for you, like, everyone's body is different. So yeah, and if I look over here, that's because I have notes on what to say. So I'm going to divide this video up into a couple categories to make it easier on everyone. So the first one is pregnancy. My BMI before I was pregnant was about 20 pounds overweight. I didn't go to the gym. I sat on the couch all day. I got less than 1,000 steps a day, which was really bad. And so when I found out I was pregnant, I really wanted to be healthier, not just for me, but for little baby Wyatt. And so I thought to myself, you know, I really want to work out. I really want to start being healthier, and I knew that my mom had gained a lot of weight with me when she was pregnant with me, so I know I didn't want to do that. So during my first trimester, I didn't really do anything. I felt like crap. I was really tired and felt sick all the time. So if you're in your first trimester, like, don't worry about it. Just take that one easy, because I know it's hard for a lot of people. But during my second trimester, when I started feeling a little better, that's when I started going to the gym. And I really started watching how many steps I get a day. So if you have an Apple Watch or if you have a Fitbit, use it. So I tried to get about 5,000 steps a day, which is about half the amount that I guess you're supposed to get. You're supposed to get like 10,000 steps a day, but especially being pregnant, like, I did not want to take 10,000 steps a day. I aimed for at least 5,000, especially when my husband works all day and I'm stuck at home. I'm not really going anywhere, so I just tried to get 5,000 steps a day. So I gained a little weight when I was in my second trimester, but not much. When I went to the gym, I would do the elliptical and very few machines. I try not to lift anything heavy, obviously. And then during my third trimester, that's when I gained most of the weight, which I gained about 40 pounds during my whole pregnancy. So if I didn't want to work out, I usually just would take a walk outside. I would walk around the block a couple times, once a day, whenever I didn't want to go to the gym. Then I stopped working out around 8 months, because by then I was just way too big. I had a huge, heavy belly with a 10-pound baby in there that I didn't even know was 10 pounds. But what I did do when I was working out is I kept a calendar, and every day that I worked out, I would put a sticker on the day, and that kind of gave me motivation to work out, because I'd be like, oh, I want to put a sticker on there today. I want to make sure I get 5 stickers for the week or whatever, and that held me accountable, kind of. So this is actually the calendar that I kept, and this is the month of January, so I was 33 weeks, 34, 35, 32 weeks, that area. So as you can see, I have a lot of stickers because I worked out a lot. Some of the 2 of the weeks I worked 5 out of 7 days, but I would also give myself a sticker if I got 5,000 steps as well. So that's just what I did. Now to the next category, which is going to be postpartum, but it's going to be the beginning stage of postpartum. So for me, this is while I was pumping. This is like right after you have the baby. This is the weight that most people just lose naturally. So that's what I'm going to be talking about now. So right after I had him, I had this belly wrap thing that I would use to, one, it helps support, like, I don't know, when you have a baby and the baby's not in your belly anymore, it's still like super heavy and you feel really weak just from going through that even just standing up straight and like holding the weight of like your uterus and everything, it's really heavy and it's really painful. So I wore that just for support, but it also helps shrink down your uterus back to the size that it was, and that really helped me with just the after bump go down quickly. It went down pretty quick. So as I said a little while ago, my baby was 10 pounds. So after I gave birth, I already lost 10 pounds from just the baby, and then by like 5 more pounds of just placenta, fluid, blood, you know, all that gross stuff. Here's another thing that a lot of people don't even talk about. So like the couple days after you give birth, like when your face is so swollen, a lot of people think, oh, it's because I gained weight, so my face is super fat, like my legs are super swollen, but it's really just fluid, and it goes away right after you give birth. So about maybe 3 days after I had him, my face came like from here to back to normal, and I was so happy because I hated the way that my face looked like the end of my pregnancy. It was so swollen, but it's just fluid. Your body retains water at a certain point in your pregnancy, and you store it in your face, you store it in your legs, you store it in your ankles, you store it in your feet, you store it everywhere, and it's really annoying. My shoes didn't even fit me. So the way that you get rid of that fluid is you sweat it out, and it's really gross, but it makes you lose like 5 pounds a day just from sweating. And there was a day that I literally thought that I peed myself because I was sweating so much, like in between my thighs, and my pants were soaking wet, and I had to sit with like a towel between my legs because I was sweating that much, and it was really gross. But it goes away, it stops. I don't sweat like that anymore. But you're just getting all of that water that you stored at the end of your pregnancy. You just gotta get it out. You don't need it anymore. So also, I don't know if this has just happened to me or if this happens to a lot of people. Some might even get like the opposite effect, but right after I had him, I also had a tiny bit like loss of appetite. I ate less. It could have just been stress from not worrying about eating and worrying about a baby now. But I guess that kind of helped, instead of stuffing my face like I did at the end of my pregnancy, to eating, I guess, normal amount of food or forgetting to eat because I had to take care of a baby. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. But once that I felt healed enough, I would take walks outside with the stroller and my husband. We would just slowly walk around the block because there was no way that I could go to the gym anytime soon after I had him. And we would even have to take breaks. It was about like a 15-minute walk normally. That would take us maybe 30 minutes because I had to stop because I was so out of breath. But even though you feel like you're not doing much, it's doing a lot just to take a short walk after you have them. Don't just like stay sitting like at home unless you really don't feel like good enough to do that. But it makes all of the difference. It makes a crazy amount of, I don't even know how to explain it. Like when I was in the hospital, I had a hard time walking. I had a hard time with a lot of other issues. But as soon as I took a walk around the hall in the hospital and the nurses like checked me out, they said that I was instantly better. I don't know if it just helps the blood flow and that helps healing. I don't know what the magic is, but just walk if you can't do anything else. So a little while after that, I would use a baby carrier. I used like a Moby wrap to walk outside with. So I would carry him instead of just pushing a stroller. So I really wanted that extra workout, I guess, while walking outside. So that's what I did, and you can also use that around the house if your baby likes to be wrapped. Some babies don't like it. All up until this point, I had already gotten down back to what I weighed before I got pregnant. But like I said before, I was still like 20 pounds overweight from before I was pregnant. So even though I had technically lost all the 40 pounds that I gained, I was still overweight, and I still wanted to keep this going and hopefully get back down to my normal weight, which by the way took about 2 months ish for me to get back down completely. Another thing is that a lot of women struggle with, even if you haven't had a kid, is birth control. So of course, after you just had a baby, you're not trying to pop another one out anytime soon, so most of us will get on birth control, or at least talk about birth control with our doctors, usually around the 6-week checkup. So for me personally, every single time that I had been on the pill before, I gained like 20 pounds just from the hormones in it. It made my appetite crazy huge, so I know after I just lost all this baby weight, I did not want to get on the pill. So for me personally, I chose the Mirena IUD, and it has not as much hormones as the pill, and it's localized just in your uterus, so the hormones shouldn't affect the rest of your body, which means it shouldn't affect your appetite either. So that's what I personally chose, and just know that whichever one that you choose could affect that. So before I move on to the next category, there's one more thing that I did that I forgot to mention before. I didn't breastfeed, but I did exclusively pump for a little bit. Only for about 2 months. I had a lot of issues with that whole thing that I could probably make a separate video on, but I don't know if anyone would want to watch that. But it does burn about 500 extra calories a day if you breastfeed or if you pump. So pumping does still burn calories just like breastfeeding does, because your body is making milk and that takes energy to make milk. So if you are wanting to breastfeed, or if you're wanting to just exclusively pump, that will help you lose weight. But I'm pretty sure when you are making milk, your body still holds on to like a little bit of fat, so it might not be the end all be all. Alright, so now for me, this category is after I was done pumping, so that had no part in the rest of the weight loss. This was all my own. This is no help from postpartum, I guess. So since I didn't have to pump anymore and I didn't have sore, achy boobs anymore, I finally was like, let's go back to the gym. Let's actually do some workout. I didn't want to lose any more muscle that I built when I was pregnant. I didn't want to just sit at home. I kind of saw it as my alone time, I guess. So whenever my husband would go back to work, he would stay with baby and I would go to the gym for 30 minutes to an hour. And that was my free time from the baby. So I got more into like weights, I guess. I'm not like a weightlifter or anything, but instead of just staying on a treadmill or staying on the elliptical and then leaving, I actually started doing the machines. So I would work basically all parts of my body, like arms, back, legs, butt, everything. So that's what I do now. I'm trying to build more muscle because cardio won't let you lose weight forever. Your body will get used to it, and then you'll either have to go faster or you'll have to run longer in order to keep your body from adjusting. But if you gain muscle, then your body's always burning fat, always burning calories because of muscle. So that's what I'm trying to do now. So there's this one thing that I got recently that really helps in the gym. It's right here. It's this like waist wrap thing that makes you sweat on wherever you wrap it. So like I wrap my stomach and it kind of incubates all the heat and makes you sweat way more, which is really gross, but it works. So my stomach is more flat and it's less bloated. I'm not sure if it contributed to losing any weight or not, but it definitely helps with appearance wise, I guess. So now the biggest contributor that made me lose about 15 pounds from my pre-pregnancy weight, which is where I'm at now, and so I'm like 4 pounds away from being how much I weighed in high school, which is crazy. And that is intermittent fasting, which is a really hard word to say. So if you don't know what intermittent fasting is, I could probably make a whole separate video on that too, but long story short is you eat during a certain window of time and you fast during a certain window of time. And a lot of people think that's like starving yourself, that your body will think you're hungry so it will store fat, but that's just a myth. And your body does do that if you are starving, but this doesn't mean that you starve yourself. So you still eat the same amount of calories that you would in a normal day, or just a healthy amount of calories. I guess you still eat a healthy amount of calories that you would normally eat. You just eat it in a certain amount of time. So when you are fasting, your body doesn't use insulin like it does after you've just eaten a meal for energy. It uses stored fat, stored sugars, and all that jazz to create energy. Another thing is, when people think of fasting, they're like, no, I can't do it. I'll be too hungry, I'll give in. But what I do is I eat from noon to 8 p.m. Still same amount of calories that you would normally eat. And then 8 p.m. to noon is when you are fasting, which is mostly when you're asleep, when you fast anyways. You're just kind of fasting a little bit longer than you normally do because you don't eat when you sleep. So that's basically just all it is. Again, I can go way more into depth into it because people do it a lot of different ways, but that's how I do it, and that's what's been working for me. I could go into more depth about intermittent fasting, and people do it different ways too. But not only it's just like a window that you eat, because you're eating that window and you're more mindful, okay, I can't eat till this time, or I stop eating at this time, you kind of naturally stop snacking, because when you first wake up, a lot of people are hungry, and if you know that you have to wait, then that takes away maybe the couple snacks that you would just randomly grab out of the pantry without even thinking about it. I always start off the window with coffee, which also kind of makes you last a little bit longer, because I really like to eat big meals at a time so I feel full instead of snacking. So I try and save the biggest meal that I'm going to eat at the end of the day, so right before I go to sleep I won't even be thinking about food anymore. So that's really all that I do. It's not as complicated as a lot of people think that it is. It just takes consistency and, I guess, dedication to actually do it. And after a week or so of intermittent fasting and everything else, you will start to see results. And if you don't see it in the numbers, you'll definitely see it in pictures. I didn't take that many before pictures, which I regret, because I wish that I could see how much of a difference I look now. But I only have like a few, and if I can insert them in this video, I'll try and do that. I'm not very good at editing, but yeah, thank you for watching. I hope that this video helps you all out in some way if you're a new mom or if you're about to have a little baby. If you have any more questions, leave them down below and I'll try and get to them when I can. Thanks.